Hey Tekken players, hope you're doing well. So this is the first time I've done a live recording of one of my guides. I normally like to read a full script with lots of editing in post, but that does take a long time to do. Now, I'm not actually, believe it or not, a full-time YouTuber. I have a full-time day job and a young family to look after. So doing it live just means I can do this a fair bit quicker, so I can put this guide out now rather than 3 months' time. Just to explain, this guide is for people who are brand new to Tekken or coming here for the first time since perhaps. So it's really going to be geared toward those guys and girls who are very new. By the way, this was me when I picked up Tekken 7. I hadn't touched the game since I was a young lad playing Tekken 3 and I had no idea how the game worked or what the hell was going on. So I do know how you're feeling. Now, if you're a veteran player, you may want to look for another King guide. I suggest waiting for Lil Margins, who will probably make the best one for more experienced players. I will be making more polished guides for new players very soon, and will hopefully do a full how to get to warrior rank when I'm finally brave enough to hit ranked, i.e. when all the big scary boys and girls have left. Now this may be a long one, so feel free to pause the video now and go and grab yourself a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, depending on whether you're on Team Lily or Team Azucena. I can never pronounce her name. But I'll put timestamps and chapters in should you wish to jump about. Okay, so I said at the start we're going to keep this very simple for brand new players, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So the first things we need to discuss is we need to go through a few words and terminology that us Tekken nerds like to throw around all the time, which I appreciate might be going over your head. So we'll discuss those first and we all know what we're talking about. So we're going to start with the following terms, which is highs, mids and lows. Now you see I've got King's twin brother here, and I'm going to get him to start doing some moves, and notice the little word that will pop up as he does them. See that? High. So these are high. Okay, now you'll notice I'm not holding back and I'm blocking. If I hold back, I block them. Blocking. If I were to move forward, they hit. Okay, so pretty simple. That's blocking. Now, what can we do against highs? Clues in the name. We duck. Notice now that the highs are going over my head, quite literally. Okay, so that's a high. That's some highs for you right there. Okay, stop that, King. Okay, so let's move it. Let's get him to do some other stuff now. Okay, so he's going to do some more moves now. These are called mids. Again, look at what the little word displays. Okay, when I again start doing it. Middle. See that? So middle, but in Tekken terms we call them mids, just to make it easier. Again, notice if I hold back, I can block these. If I'm walking forward, they'll hit me. See? Now, unlike a high, watch what happens if I try to duck. If I try and duck, they hit me. Okay? So that's a crucial thing to get your head around in Tekken. Mids will hit people who are ducking. Okay, that's enough of that, King. And finally, we've got lows. So let's get him to stop doing that. Okay, so now he's going to hit me with some lows. Now notice if I hold back, I'm holding back, but these are still hitting me, okay? So in Tekken, lows will always hit you if you try to hold back. So how do we block lows? We hold down back like this. Notice now I'm blocking. Okay, so that's highs, mids and lows sorted out. So just to recap, highs you can duck and you'll go under them, but if you hold back they won't hit you. Mids, if you try to duck they'll hit you, but if you just hold back they won't hit you. And lows will always hit you unless you hold down back. So I said I'm going to keep it simple and we'll do baby steps at a time. So we talked about highs, mids and lows. Next we're going to talk about, and don't be scared, I told you I'm going to keep this really simple. We're going to talk about frames. So very briefly, frames are basically how fast we measure a move in this game and various other things. So in this game, there are 60. It runs at 60 frames a second. Okay, that's not to do with how it looks on your screen. You could be running on an absolute potato machine and barely getting 10 FPS on your potato PC, but the game itself is running at 60. So 1 frame equals 1/60th of a second. So we measure how fast the move is in frames. Okay, so everyone in this game has access to a jab, which is this. You'll notice if you look in the bottom left hand of the screen where it says startup frames, you'll see it says 10. That's how fast it is. So basically the jab is more or less, with one or two very rare exceptions, the fastest move in the game. Okay, so that means that if let's say that the other king player tries to do a move which is much slower and I do my jab, then it's going to win. Okay, so let's see if I can just quickly come up with something to kind of give you an idea. So let's do, we want to record. So let's have king do something quite slow. Just trying to think in my head what's quite a slow move for king. Let's say he wants to do this. Okay. So that's 17 frames fast. Oops, I wanted to actually do it. So let's say he starts doing it. Oops, you're going to start king. Notice if I keep jabbing him, see, he can't get it out. What we did then, but he can't get it out because my move is faster. You see? So that's what we mean when we talk about frame advantage. If I try to do a slower move, let's see if he beats me. Okay, let's try a much slower one. Okay, but you get the idea generally. So fast moves will beat slow moves. This is why jabs in Tekken, everyone talks about why are jabs so important. You'll hear this a lot in with like high level guides and veteran players. They'll talk about jabs being vital. This is why. They're very, very fast, and also if they're blocked, it's basically you still have the advantage. We'll save that for another video, but that's a general gist. By the way, if you want to understand frames a lot more, please stop that now, King. Thank you. If you want to understand frames a lot more, I made a full comprehensive guide for Tekken 7. 99% of it is still true. If you can get your head around the fact it looks a bit more ugly because it's Tekken 7, not Tekken 8. But I'll link that below if you want to watch that. That's honestly the best thing I can offer you in terms of understanding frames. Okay, so just a couple more terms to get through. We're going to talk about a counter hit. So we just mentioned then about moves coming out at different times. A counter hit is when, say, king tries to do a really quite a slow move and I do a fast move. If mine comes out faster and hits him while he's still doing his original move, it's called a counter hit. And certain moves have what we call counter hit properties, which means that basically if you land someone with a counter hit, then suddenly you get potentially extra power-ups to the move. Okay, again, I try not to make it too confusing. So let's get king to do another slow move and I'll show you what I mean. So let's say he's going to do okay, so let's go, of course he's going to do a jab. He's going to try and do this. That's reasonably slow, I think. Yep, finished that. Okay, so he's going to get him to do it now. Okay, now I'm going to see if I can counter hit him. If he's going to do it again, please, king. See? Now, because my move came out faster, then we actually got a launch. Because that's one of king's counter hit launches. I'll just show it again so you can show it me. Let him do it. Go on, king. When you're ready, mate. See? So, that's called a counter hit. Right. Okay. And the final thing just to mention, is when something crushes. Basically, this means that if king does a move and I do another move, and either he does a high move and I go under it with my move, or he might do a low attack and I go over it with some sort of jumping attack. That's what we mean by high crush and low crush. So again, I'll just show you really, really briefly. So I'm going to get King to do some more jabs, which we know are high. Okay. Oops. Oops. So we'll get him to do those jabs. Now I'm going to do a move that goes under them. He's going to try again, please, King. There we go. Not only does that go under, I counter hitted him. See? Because I'm going underneath his jabs. So that's what I mean by crushing. To show you what I mean by... That's a high crush, by the way. Let me show you quickly what I mean by a low crush. So this time we'll get him to do a jab into a low. Okay. So we'll just check that's working. Yep. So he's going to jab me and watch this. There you see? That's called a hop kick. It will go... I basically jump over his leg, you see? So that's what we call a low crush. Okay. So hopefully now you know what those mean, if I've explained them well. Just very, very important, like I said, I'm going to keep this really, really new and friendly. And I know that, I apologise in advance if I do it, that Tekken nerds will throw around all sorts of weird words and you'll have no clue what we're talking about. So I'm just covering the absolute basics we need to go through. So we've discussed highs, mids, lows. We've discussed counter hits, and we discussed crushing. Oh, and frames. Okay, so the way that these guides normally run for people is people want to know, right, what are the key moves for the character? What are the best moves that I need to know about? And we will get onto that, but because this is for newbies, we're going to go straight into one thing, which is throws. Now, in case you hadn't clocked on, King, he's a wrestler, okay? He is all about throws. He has the best throws in the game by substantial margin for all sorts of reasons. He has in fact, some of his throws deliver the worst damage in the game. Let's see if I can do it. Just to show you what I mean. So he has throws which are just obscene in terms of damage. So for context, I can't remember how much you have actually in Tekken 8, but in Tekken 7 you had 175 points of damage. That move there alone did 100 or thereabouts. And most importantly of all, throws in Tekken 8 have been buffed significantly. I won't go into all the details why, but basically there's a lot of reasons now why throws are much stronger than they used to be. And King being a wrestler and King having the best throws in the game, you know, that's what this character is all about. So we're going to go through the throws first, then following that we're going to go into basically how to set them up, which goes into his other key moves, okay? So we mentioned his throws, let's talk about them. So this is his most famous throw, which is Giant Swing, which I've done a few times, but I'll do again. Oh, I won't, because I'm trying to go too fast. There we go. So that throw is, it looks quite complicated on paper. You have to do forwards, then you have to do a half circle. You do forwards, back in a half circle, and then forwards again. Let me show you in the move list. That's probably easier. There we go. So as you can see, it's forward. Oh, I see. Oh, sorry, I was confused. Tekken had me confusing because we're on the other side. There we go. So you see we have forwards, and then it's back in a half circle, then forwards again. And it comes out like that. That's the Blue Spark version. It's exactly the same, but a little bit faster. It gives you a few more points of damage. Now, the reason why this is basically not only King's best throw, the best throw in the game, is for that reason we were talking about earlier, which is frames. This throw, if you do it correctly, comes out in 10 frames. As you can see, well, it's gone now, but originally it said below 10 in the bottom corner. The reason why that's so important is because, as I mentioned, it's basically one of the fastest moves in the game, along with jabs. A 10 frame move in Tekken is generally considered to be the fastest. So the reason why this is important is because this throw will beat so many attacks if the other player is trying to say throw out something that's, let's say for the sake of argument, 12 frames fast or 15. On nothing but the timing, this will beat it. So this is why this throw is so important for King. I say it's not only his best throw, it's arguably the best throw in the game. You can see there's a good chunk of damage. If you're by the wall, it does even more damage because King will throw them back into the wall and you get an extra, which comes up to 70, which is absolutely crazy. And basically, yeah, it can be broken if the other player presses the 1 button as it happens. Let's see if I can. I can't be bothered. If I were to get the other King player to do this, I'd show you. But basically, you hit the 1 break, and then you'll be able to escape it. But the reason why, and again, I'll keep this friendly. But the reason why you may think to yourself, "Oh, that's easy. Just press 1." The reason why it's so important is because King has so many other throws that look the same, but if you press 1, it will make no difference. Let me just show you a very quick example. So you can see this is what his hands look like when he does the giant swing. See? They both come out like that. Watch his hands now. Exactly the same. This is an entirely different throw with a different throw break. So it's in effect a complete total guess. The person can't tell which one you're doing. Okay, so that's giant swing. I can't stress enough how important that is. You have to learn that. If you want to main King, you have to learn this throw. It's just too good. We'll get into when to use it later. So let's move on to his next super important throw, which is the tombstone. Okay, let's get to display that. Now the input, as you can see, is down, back, forward, and then hit the what we call the 2+4 buttons. If you're on a PlayStation, that's triangle and circle. You can do this. You can do a quarter circle back, then forwards, which I prefer to do, but that's personal preference. So why is this throw so good? Let's show you. So first of all, there's a good chunk of damage. Not as much as the giant swing, unless of course they tech it, but we'll get into that later. See, 53 points of damage, so good chunky damage, but there's something even more significant about the giant swing. Watch what happens if we do it, and then King tries to stand up. Oops. Okay, I didn't mean to break that floor. Let's do it again. Right, without the floor break this time. So watch what happens if King tries to stand up. Gets up. Okay, I wasn't fast enough. Let's try again. Oh, we're going to keep breaking floors. I knew it's a bad idea of choosing this stage. Okay, I can't do it fast enough on this, and I'm going to keep breaking floors if I do it. But basically, if you're fast enough, then the player getting up can't block this attack. Okay, I'm just messing it up because I'm doing a live recording. But trust me, if you do it fast enough, as they get up, that will land. So this is what we call an Oki situation. Again, I apologise, but when we talk about Oki in Tekken, we mean that when someone is on the ground and the other player isn't, there's certain situations that can favour the person who is still standing up. This is one of them, okay? So let's try it one more time because come on. Oh dear. Come on, last one. I want to show you how this works. Oh dear, I just can't do it fast enough. I think they may have made that harder, to be honest, in Tekken 8. That used to be much easier in Tekken 7. Anyway, point is, it's got really good Okizeme options. If they don't get up, you can run up and you can do a ground throw. So, what else have we got? Okay, I mentioned before we have this other throw, which is called the Muscle Buster, which, let me just look it up on here. There it is. By the way, again, if you're a Tekken 3 veteran, you know all these throws. He's had them since then. So this is the Muscle Buster, which, as I mentioned, is quarter circle back, and then 1+2. If you're on PlayStation, that is square and triangle. Now, the reason why this throw is so good is it will break the floor. A lot of his other throws break the floor, but this is one of the better ones. And as I mentioned at the start, if you look at his hands, they look the same. Oops. as when he does a giant swing. So this is the one that you can use to basically confuse your opponent with. This is it. It also, if you're quick enough, that's for free. Oops. Show you again. That wasn't quick enough. If you're quick enough, that's free. But also, the nice thing is when King is in back turn, he has access to other moves that he can't do normally. Oh yeah, I forgot. Floor break. So, when he has back turn, he can do other moves like this, for example. And other moves that he can't do when he's any other state. And the Muscle Buster puts you in a back turn, so you have access to different things. So that's the Muscle Buster. We have another one, which is the Tijuana Twister, if I pronounced that correctly, which I almost certainly have not. That's Giant Swing. Tijuana Twister. Okay, so we just display that. So this is exactly the same as a Giant Swing, except it has a 2 or triangle instead of 1, which is square. Oops. And apparently I can't do it. There we go. Okay, 50 damage. Apparently it's harder to do than a giant swing. There we are. So 50 damage, and if you've learnt the input for the giant swing, then it's exactly the same. It's just you do triangle rather than square. It also will catch people out of the air. Giant swing will also do that. So you see, that was exactly the same. So it's quite good if people are trying to do moves like hop kicks or something where they're in the air, that will catch them out of it. Okay, so those are his key sort of what I'd call his standard throws, okay? Now, something you may have noticed about all these throws. You see that word there? High. Excuse me, King. High. See? So, as we discussed at the start, what does this mean? Quite simple, really. We want to get the... We want him to be offensive and just to crouching block, okay? So he's ducking now. Watch what happens. Suddenly, none of my throws are going to work. Okay, now it will take new players about best part of maybe 45 seconds to realise that if they duck, your throws don't work. Or they don't work if you just can't input them properly. There we are. Okay, so now we're at a problem. Suddenly all our throws aren't working. What are we going to do? Don't worry. King's got your back. Why is that? Because he has throws that work if they're crouching, or crouch throws. This is his best one. Pedigree. I don't know what they called it in what they've called it in this. Nor do I know where we would find it. Let's go quickly looking. Freedom Facebuster. Okay. It's a Freedom Facebuster apparently, but you know it's called a Pedigree. This also, I haven't got heat activated at the moment, but this also activates heat. We'll get into heat later. The other nice thing about this is, unlike in previous Tekken games, where King had crouch throws, but the opponent could break them, this is unbreakable. So if they commit to crouching, and you know they're going to crouch, this will throw them. Okay. So that's the Pedigree. He also has two others that are legacy throws. He has the Iron Lariat, which is down, and then that is 1+3, or if you're playing on PlayStation, that is square and cross. By the way, I just happen to think that that's one of the coolest animations. I love it. There's just something so brutal about it. This also will break the floor in certain stages. And I believe, I'll just double test, but I believe this is the best one for floor breaks because you see he's facing the right way for a combo. So we'll get into that later. But basically, if you want to break the floor for a combo, this is the one to go for. He also has another one, V driver. Again, looks pretty cool. Doesn't look as cool as the iron lariat. Breaks the floor, but in a different way. See how now he's facing the wrong way, which makes combos a bit trickier. But if you're playing on a stage that has no floor breaks, which is, to be honest, 95% of them, you want to stick with the pedigree, which is down 1+4, which is square and circle together. Okay, because it gives you the most damage and it puts them in heat state. As I haven't got heat switched on at the moment, but if I had, you'd see it. Okay, so those are his crouching throws, which, you know, again, maybe not quite as important as his regular throws, but you need to be aware of them. Okay, so let's just get him to go back to standing. Excuse me. Now, as I mentioned, he does have multi-throws. This is when they're clues in the name. This is when you have multiple throws put on together. Move list. Let me just look one up. Don't worry, don't panic. We won't go through all this. We'd be here for a very, very long time. I just want to find. Here we go. We'll do this one as the example. So this is the start of a multi-throw. So that input, it looks a bit awkward, but what it is basically you press forwards, take your finger off the control pad, go down, down forward, and press the button. It looks like this. Okay. As I mentioned at the start, if I can remember the inputs, which I can't. So as you can see, some of these multi-throws, the damage is just insane. 85. Used to be more in older games. So still, big damage. So those are his crouch throws. That is if you do that chain. I won't, this is all for you to look up later, but you'll notice there are literally, I've forgotten how many, but there's a lot of different chain throws you can go down. But these are the two that I'd recommend starting with. That one, and then if we do the other one, this is the arm breaker. This sets up his most damaging throw, which is the rolling death cradle, or RDC for short. Again, he's had this since Tekken 3, but in Tekken 3 it was a hidden move. That's his highest damaging, and to be completely honest with you, the emotional damage that does is far more significant than any actual damage it does. There's nothing more humiliating than being hit by an RDC and watching your poor little body roll around on the ground. Okay, so those are all his throws, and as I mentioned, throws in this game are significantly stronger than they used to be. Which is why you have to understand it, and it's the essence of the character. The character king is a grappler. And in this game in particular, they've really built his design around that mindset. He still has got some great all-round tools, but that's his strength. He grapples. Okay, so we talked about throws. But as I mentioned, there are options that people can use to beat throws. They can duck, for example. If you know you're not coming to a crouch throw, they can backdash away. King doesn't have a very good backdash, but even so, you can still use this method to escape. You can step certain throws, and to be honest, what's more likely to happen in these lower ranks, if you're a newbie, is people will just be mashing all sorts of nonsense in your face, and you'll be like, wah, 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 just doing all sorts, and you'll be like, what on earth am I meant to put in a throw when I've just got someone just mashing in my face? So the important thing is knowing how to set the throws up. Now, this is, I keep stressing, I'm going to keep this really simple. So we're not going to go into too much detail, but I'm going to give you some good examples of how we put throws into the game. Now, as I mentioned at the start, you have certain moves like a jab, super fast. You have another move which is a called a down forwards 2, which is triangle. That's really fast. You have certain lows, forward 4 neutral 2, for example. These are all moves that basically, if the person's mashing in your face, and I will get, there's a separate section for this later in the guide about how to do with mashes. These are ways to shut that down, okay? Because if they're trying to, if you block something, block something first, wait until they finish. After they finish, start doing this. It's amazing how effective this is, trust me. This is a really, really fast move, and it'll stop them from being able to press more buttons, okay? So here's some, so we call these, in Tekken, we call these pokes, okay? Now, they don't do that much damage, but what they do is they stop the other player from getting their game on, basically. Stop them from being able to pick it up and start mashing again. So this is what we mean when we say basically trying to poke them. And once you get your head around that, pokes can lead to great throw setups. Okay, so before we talk about that, I need to talk about something which is called buffering. Okay, no, that's not to do with when Netflix is running like a dog. Buffering in Tekken means that basically while one move is still happening, you can input another move. Okay, so let me show you an example of this. So I'm going to do this move, which is down forward 1 2. Okay, you see that? That's a that's what we call a string. It's 2 hits. Boom, boom. Now, if I want to do say I want to do a throw following this move, what I could do is go boom, boom. See that it's hit, and then do a throw, and it look like this. Okay, simple enough. But notice how, because there was a gap, I had to wait for the move. I had to wait for this to finish. Then I had to put the input in. See how there's a little gap there. Now what you can do is you can actually do a thing called buffering, which is when you start to input the throw while this is still happening. And you time it where you finish putting the throw just as the move finishes. And then this happens. I'll try that again. And then this happens. And it comes out much faster, okay? So it means they basically, that makes it come out as fast as possible. So you're putting it in before the move is finished. And annoyingly, this is much easier to demonstrate on the previous Tekken 7 command history. I hate this. It's the one and only thing I don't like about Tekken 8 compared to Tekken 7. I don't like the fact that the command history goes down the side. It's really annoying. But anyway, so this is called throw buffering, and it's really important to learn again if you want to main king, because it makes sure that your throws come out as fast as possible. So once you learn to throw buffer, what you can start doing is doing little moves into throws. So this is at beginning 101, the classic jab. Jab into giant swing. If you can, there we go, if you're not an idiot. There we are. I should stop trying to do the blue spark. It's making me mess it up. Ignore that. So, jab, buffer throw. I'll do it super slow. Jab, buffer throw. See? So what this means is that because I buffered it in so fast, unless they instant duck, then basically that move will beat out anything they do. And they can't block it because throws are unblockable. So that's the idea of buffering. And so what your best bet is just to do little moves and then buffer into throw. So I mentioned this as an example. This has 2 hits. Let's say that the let's get the CPU to block something. Oops. No. Oh, do I need him on offense? Yes, I do. Okay, so let's get him to block all. Okay, so now he's blocking. Now let's say your opponent knows that this has got 2 hits, so they're thinking to themselves, right, I'm gonna block you. So what do? We do 1 into, then we do 1 into the throw. See, because they're thinking to themselves, oh, second move's going to come out, I'll block. We go nope. We go huh, huh, and we do the throw. See, and that's why it's so key to learn how to do it I'll try and show off now. Oh, this is not going to work. So this is why it's key to learn how to do the throws. So how to buff the throws. Now you may have noticed that I did a throw which we haven't looked at yet. Now in Tekken we call this a Shining Wizard, even though it's actually called Tomahawk something or another. But we call it Shining Wizard because we always have. The reason why I haven't mentioned it is because this isn't a throw I'd worry about too much at this early stage, because you basically have to do it while running, okay? So let's say you manage to knock the opponent to the ground, you can then run up and do this, and you think, oh, that's pretty cool. Why don't I do that? Unfortunately, because again, most players, it won't take them very long to figure out that that's what you're doing, and they'll break it. So when this throw becomes really good, it's really close up, and this is harder to do. It takes a lot of skills to be able to do it at point blank range. Even in Tekken, they have made it easier in Tekken 8. So you've got an easy mode way of running, but to do it as fast as possible, oops, which I will now demonstrate that I can't do. To do it as fast as possible still requires a lot of execution, which I can't do. There we are. So I've not mentioned that one at this moment in time. I'll mention it when we get to combos, which I'll get to in a minute. Okay, so going back to when to buff your throws, as I mentioned, you need to look for little pokes. Little pokes into throws are really, really good. There's some other ways you can do it, which is when you start to use your punishes. Okay, so I'll have to I'll try to keep this as simple as possible. We have to briefly explain what do we mean by punishes and punishment. So certain moves, if you block them, basically, the person who throws the move out, they in effect need a certain amount of time before they can go back to guarding. Okay, and if the move that's blocked is anything more than 10 frames, then the other player can land the move for free. Okay, so I'll just show you what this kind of looks like to make it easier. So we want defense. We want King to do this. Okay. Yes, we'll record that. Now, if we block this, when you're ready, King, you see how it says, on his side it says -13, on my side it says +13. That means I have 13 frames where he can't block anything, which means if I do this, he can't block it, okay? Because these come out in 10 frames. See, can't block. That's what we call a punishment, okay? You can actually punish with the same move. So that's the idea of punishment. Now the reason why this is important is because when King punishes a move, and again it's kind of built around his design. When he punishes a move, he has quite a lot of frames in his advantage. So if let's say we were to punish with this, see we now have +5 frames, which means that basically means we've got a significant amount of time before the other King player can do anything. So what might we want to do with that? Well, we could giant swing. That'd be a good idea. It's tombstone. Oops. That's a good idea. So you see, so we'll get into King's punishment later. But the point is that a lot of the moves you use to punish things, as I said, they have a lot of frames in advantage. Even his jabs. So this gives you, look at that, +8. That's loads. What does this give you? +8. That's a significant amount of frames. In some ways, it's almost better to punish with this or this, because it gives you more frame advantage. Okay, so when you punish a move, that's a really good time to go for a throw. Okay, because you have all that time in the world where the other player can't block. Or sorry, they can't throw a move out because you have more time than they do, because you're at you're at plus, they're at minus, as we mentioned already. Giant Swing is one of the fastest moves in the game. It can be legit used as a punish tool because it's so fast. So, good times to use your throws are once you start to control the match with pokes into throws. You can use it when you want to, after you've blocked a move. By the way, I should apologise. I know it sounds like an excuse, but my pad is on its way out. It's getting really mushy, which is why a lot of my throws aren't coming out very well. So, great. That's a great time to use throws after you've punished something. Just on the subject, because this is for newbies, a lot of characters have in this game something called a hop kick. And hop kicks are spammed a lot because they will launch for a combo. Oops. Yeah, play please. Oh, we did that. Come on, King. Oh, need to put it onto there. Old man moment. So players will spam hop kicks a lot in the low ranks because if they hit you, they launch you for a combo. They also go over lows, and lots of people like to spam lows, but you'll notice, see that minus 13? So they're all very punishable if you block them. So look out for that. Look out for hop kicks. Punish, set them up for a throw. Okay, let's get King to stop this shenanigans. Just very briefly to mention, and again I'm trying to go into too much detail here, but some other good opportunities for King to do throws. He has this move here, which is forward forward 2 or forward forward triangle. Notice that this forces the other opponent into a crouch state as it sort of knocks them down. It's completely safe on block. It's neutral, which means that no one has any more advantage than the other. If it hits, if we just get King to stop being a block spammer, notice it forces them into crouch, and you have 12 frames. What this means is you can do a crouch throw. They can't block it. There we go. My heat is now activated. So that's guaranteed. They can't break it. They can't do anything. Notice as well that forward forward 2 it's not. I reset this earlier. Forward forward 2 is a mid, but for some reason it's decided it doesn't want to show you that. There we go. It's a mid, so you can't duck it. So that's a great throw setup there. King also has this stance called a Jaguar step. That's Jaguar, not Jaguar, because we're not from the States. So that is 3+4 just by itself, or cross and circle. You can jag step forwards, you can jag step backwards by holding back. You think to yourself, well, what? He looks like an idiot. What's he doing? Well, it's because of this. Sets up more chain throws. Again, we won't show you the whole thing, but again, potentially a massive high damage option. Learn those. He has 2 potential breaks. He has that one and he has this one. They look exactly the same, but they're different breaks. So again, it's a true mix-up. So that's another way of doing it. Jaguar step is also quite a handy way if you hold back to get out of trouble. Just bear in mind that when he's doing this, he's not blocking. So if the other player does a move with a lot of range like this, and you're trying to Jaguar step away, it will hit you. So just bear that in mind. Okie dokie. So that covers his throws and when it's the best time to use them. So just recap. Do it after small hits into other things. Do it after you punish big moves. And certain moves that just lend themselves to throws. Okay, so let's talk about and I say because I'm keeping this to new players. Let's talk about what are King's best moves outside of throws, basically to stop people who are completely and totally mashing in your face. So as I mentioned, doing these little pokes, and I'll go over the specific ones now. As I mentioned, one jab is really good. It's really fast. There's one that's even better, which is, so this is 1-2 or square triangle. This is 2-1. Looks similar, but notice that tiny little difference there. Did you spot it? The first one you'll notice is high, 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 high. The second one is high, mid. The reason why that's important is because if someone's ducking, this will catch him. Really, really good to know. Whereas this, they might duck under it. You can do 1-2-1, which is this. See, now they can block that final one, so it's not guaranteed. But again, it's if they're being if they're basically being aggressive, that'll keep them in check. These are great. These are also, you have enough advantage on block. Let me just get the, let's get the king to become a block spammer again. Oops. Still not quite used to this new system, so. This is a bit more advanced, but you'll notice -3. So it's completely safe, can't punish me, more to the point. There's enough time to step afterwards. So I will save sidestepping for another guide, but for king, these are really good. These are really good options to start stepping afterwards. So if they're mashing, just these little moves. They don't look like much, but trust me, I'm telling you, do it for a laugh. Next time you're in a match and you're playing someone who's super aggressive, just keep doing this and see what they do. Some people, this will kill them, and I'm not even joking. We'd have to be very, very, very new players, but trust me. So that's kind of a very, very general game, but let me give you some more specific sort of, well, to be honest, king specific ways of dealing with mashers. So let's get this king player to be all mashy in our face. Okay, so that's quite a lot of nonsense. Oops. Okay, so he's going to just do this, and you're thinking, what? When's it my turn? What can I do? Okay. There we go. Took a few attempts. I had to get the timing. See? So that move, once you get the hang of it, it is a bit tricky when I've got him mashing this much. So that move, okay, you can stop now, king. So that move is down back 1+2, or down back square and triangle. Doesn't look like much, but notice that not only does he glow red like an absolute champ. I think this is when, I'm not 100% sure, but I think this is when the trembolone starts to kick in. So you can do that, they can keep mashing, and you can basically just take it like an absolute champ. And then you either press 2 to do that heat engager, or even, even more sneaky, hold it, if I can not be an idiot. Apparently I can't. Okay, let's do an easy one. There we go. There we go. I haven't quite got the timing of this. There we are. Hold it into a throw, because all this while they'll be pressing buttons. They'll be scared of, they're scared of this coming out. If they do keep pressing buttons, if they sit there and just, quake by the mere, scariness of your, should we say, extra additional juicy medication, it's a great way to set up a throw and just be like, yeah, what of it? And this is how they design King. They want you to do this. They want you just to be like, no, I'm just going to run through you. I don't have to respect anything. Boom. So he has quite a few. That's possibly his best Power Crush, I would say. Power Crush, by the way, again, apologies for using odd words. That's a move which basically you have built-in armor. So you can absorb certain attacks. And if it's quick enough, you'll get yours out first. Here's another one he has. That's also a heating gauge. It's pretty cool. Here's another one. So again, these will power, and here's this other one. Oops, wrong button. So these will power through a player who's basically just mashing. Now, just to mention, while we're on the subject of power crushes, in Tekken 8, there's a lot of moves that encourage the player to use power crushes. And you might think, well, aren't they a little bit, aren't they a little bit overpowered because you can just use them just to bully your way through anything, which is fair. They do have two significant weaknesses, which are important for King because one of them is lows, but more importantly for King, the other one is throws. If someone tries to do a power crush, if you hit them with a throw, then basically your throw will beat the power crush. And let me just demonstrate that for you now. So let's get our friend King to do a, let's get him to jab into this. So normally we're sort of thinking to ourselves, oh no, well that's quite scary. Is he going to do the big move? However, oops, try again. Come on, my friend. There we go. That will beat the power crush. Can't block it. There we are. That's a, see that little spark? That's to show that was a counter hit throw. Nothing he could do there. There you go. It's much easier to do this when I'm not using giant swing. See? So throws are super good against power crushes because they basically just capture you out of it. The other ones that are good are lows, as I mentioned, so I'll just show you that just so I prove my point. Do a bit quicker. Oh, he blocked it. Very good. Okay, maybe this isn't the best example because I've got to do it quite slow, but lows will break power crushes generally. There we go. That caught him out of it. Do it again. So, generally speaking, if someone is spamming power crushes, lows are good, throws are better. I really want to try and counter hit throw him with a giant swing. There we are. I feel happy now. So throws, oddly enough, can even be used to sort of like punish people who are mashing if they're mashing power crushes. So something to bear in mind. Now again, this is a more advanced topic, and I will save it for a whole separate video. But just so you're aware, another amazing move that King has to deal with people who are mashing is this. And you're thinking to yourself, oh, what? That doesn't do anything. What do you mean? That's not even doing any damage. It's just pushing him. Again, I'll have to save it for another video. This push is ridiculously fast. This push is, by the way, for the command is forward, neutral, 1+2. So that's forward, stop pressing forward, and then press square and triangle together. Gives you this push. The reason why this is so good, it comes out really fast. And do you remember at the start when I talked about counter hit moves and counter hit properties? Again, I was just trying to get King to demonstrate this for you. So let's get him to do something into something else. So let's say, okay, so let's say do a jab into this. Yep. Now, if we can get this shove to come out fast enough, when you're ready, King. Oh, wrong one. Try again. Notice that? Wrong one again. But again, my D-pad is very mushy. There. You notice how notice that time round, he got pushed back a fair bit. See, this is just a little push. And we watch to see if we can do it again. Oops. Come on, King. There. What does that mean? You get lots and lots of free moves. So, I'll just show you one. Right, come on, King. Oh dear. You can't block that. That was guaranteed. Here's another one. Nope. Come on. Stop doing a lariat. Can't block that. That bit isn't. That's just me doing fun stuff. So, this is more an advanced technique, but something you need to learn eventually if you want to main king. This is great. You just bully them and bully them and bully them and bully them. Notice, again, it's not doing any damage, but it's giving me +7 frames on hit, which is loads of time. If they try and do anything now, this will beat it in effect. This is also, if I can do it. Come on. Another great way to set up certain throws. But again, this is fairly more advanced. But it's just so I've covered all options in terms of what are great moves to use if you're being bullied. This. I will save this for another video. Okay. So that covers what to do against people who are mashing in your face. Outside of that, I can only say that unfortunately I know this sounds like a it sounds like I'm a bit of a cop-out, but you just have to learn the game. King has specific things which I've shown you, which is you can either you can rely on some of his power crush tools, you can rely on his counter hit tools, but generally speaking the way to deal with mashers is just to learn, is unfortunately to learn Tekken. And the key thing is, and again I'll save this for another guide, it's basically just to know when to press buttons and when to hold back. And in lower ranks especially, honestly, if you just hold back, players will kill themselves. They'll do something really stupid, they'll keep trying to do this over and over, and all you have to do is block it, boom boom, big damage, or block it, boom boom, throw. And it's just, it comes with practice and knowledge of the game, but it's basically just letting the opponent do something stupid, punishing him for it, and just like I said, just knowing when's it my time to hold back, when's it my time to start attacking. And that all comes down to frames and timing. Okay, so we've discussed his throws, we've discussed how to use them, we've done a little bit of stuff about how to deal with people mashing. So let's talk about heat. Let's talk about heat and what King has. So hopefully I don't need to explain heat too much to you, but in effect what it is, now I'm in the heat state, I have access to moves that I normally can't, and some of my other moves now have built up properties that are now better. As you can see, you get heat for a certain amount of time, then it runs out. Let's put the display on just so we can show that. There we are. So now you can see you've got my little heat meter, and during this time certain things will have extra properties. So what does this mean for King specifically? Well, let's talk about his heat engagers. Now what heat engager is a move that if you land it will activate heat. Okay, so King has a few. Probably I would argue his best one is this, which is forward 2-1, which is forward triangle square. Boom. The reason why this is probably his best one is because the range. Okay, that's a little bit far away. Let's see how far back we can go. So this, because King is an absolute beast, pun intended, he has massive limbs. This has ridiculous range. It's safe on block, however, if you noticed, the second hit is a high. So if they block the first hit, they can go under the second and then kill you for it. But again, that's way more advanced play. No one's going to do it in these early ranks, trust me. Unless they're a really good player and they just haven't ranked up yet. So this has a lot of range. It is a key punish for certain moves. So say for example, if you're playing against Paul and he does his Death Fist, if you don't know what that is by now, then I envy you because you must be living in an innocent place. But Death Fist is a move which has ridiculous damage if it hits you, and it has a lot of pushback if you block it. this will punish it. So you'll notice that when the heat is activated, we now have plus 17 frames. That is ridiculous. Okay, 17 frames. So you know, so what this means is if you actually look at the other king, you see he goes, he stands there, goes, oh my head, I can't do anything, and all that time, the only thing that the person who's been hit can do is they can either hold back to block or they can duck. They can try to mash buttons, but the reality is that you've got so little advantage because you're standing there holding your crushed head like a little child, that really anything you do is going to be faster. Okay, so the question is, and this is all interpretation, this is just how I've seen so far, is let's say we score this heat engager. What are our best options? Okay, good question. Let's say, for the sake of argument, that they're going to try and mash something. Let's say that they're going to do what we call in Tekken a dick jab, which is when you down jab. This is not every character has it. 99% of the characters have it. It's the closest thing to a panic button that everyone has, because you'll notice you're ducking out the way, and it's pretty fast. So a lot of people use that as a help, I'm in trouble. So let's say they're going to do that. Okay, what will beat it? I'll give you a clue. Not that. That will. As we mentioned, this is fast. Fair enough. This is just as fast. Same speed, but I've got more advantage. Okay. So that's an obvious option. If they're going to basically, that will beat pretty much anything that they try and do, unless the only thing that they can do against that is, let's say, duck, or if they know that the giant swing's coming, they can break it. So I might be able to demonstrate this. Let's get King to do the same thing to me. Okay, so after flying around like an idiot for a few moments, I got King to do the heat engager into the giant swing. So let's let him hit me with it, and what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and dick jab my way out of it. Let's watch what happens, okay? See? You notice that? If you look at the screen, I was pressing down, jab, down, jab, down, jab. No chance. Do it again. Oh, gotta let him hit me first. Okay, watch. See? So as demonstrated, that is the... Stop now, King. Also, get on the right side, my friend. It's better. So, if you think that they're going to try to do a move, that's probably one of the better options, because it will say it's so fast it will beat everything. As I mentioned, now one thing they can do is they can duck, and that will avoid the giant swing. So, if you think they're going to duck, what else can we do? Well, if you want to do the full committal, you could do this. Nice, breaks the floor. So that's a lot of damage. I would have to check to see what the total damage of that was. Let's see. I would have to restart it. Anyway, point is, so that's if you do full committal. Now, that's not necessarily... I would only do that if you are 100% sure they're going to duck, because once you do that heat burst... Sorry, that heat smash, which is what that move is... you lose all your heat. It's gone. So, what's some alternatives? Well, this is pretty good, because this move is a mid, which means they can't duck it. And the beauty thing is, if it hits them, reasonable amount of damage, 21, but more importantly, you get some great frames. However, if they block it, could you please block, Mr. Computer? Yep. If they block it, notice I still have +3. So this is quite a rare thing for King, but what this means is that even if they block it, it's still my turn. So this is another brilliant throw setup. Now the reason I didn't mention it earlier is because unfortunately its range is a bit rubbish. It's slightly better than it was in Tekken 7, admittedly. It's also reasonably slow. 17 frames to start up. But the range is the real issue. However, if you land a heat... Oops. Need to stop blocking now, please. Oops. Come on. There we go. Obviously, if this is following a heat engager, then you're already by definition right next to them. So this is really good because they duck, it's a win. If it hits, it's a win. It's a win-win all round. There you go. So that's one suggestion. Another one would be to do this, what we call a running 3, which is running square. Oops. The reason why that's good chunk of damage, knocks down. Oops. Certain moves are guaranteed afterwards. Like that. See? Because they're knocked on the ground and they can't get their legs off the floor in time, they can't avoid that second part. So again, if you land this after the heat engager... Oops. Got to work out this timing. There you go. In fact, that would have made him hit the wall. Let's see if that'll work again. Cool. That's a good option. Because again, and the other thing about that is a bit like this move. Even if they block it, let's put them onto. Oops. Let's put them onto standing block. Thank you very much. Even if they block it, oops. Notice it's still +3. So again, as they sort of stagger back and go, oh! The cool thing is, because of the way it looks, even though it's +3, which is great, we'll take it. +3 is brilliant. I think it actually looks more, because of the way that he sort of staggers. It goes, oh, because he's just had a 300-pound Jaguar man just launch his knee into his chest. So the reality is it's only +3, but I think it looks a lot more. Again, another great time to set up a throw. So just to recap, in terms of what you might want to do if you land this particular heat engager. Come on, King, please go back to playing along with me. In terms of the options, giant swing. If you think they're going to, try to press buttons, that's great. If you think they're going to duck, do this. Take the damage, take the frames, take the throw setup, or do this. I'm glad to see what you could get from that. So that would be my suggestions, but it's all about experimentation and go and see what works for you. The point is that, as you see, we've got a good chunk of frames and we're right next to the opponent. Let's see if a crouch throw. There you go. Another good one. Experiment, see what you think works for you, but those would be my suggestions. Okay, so the only other part of heat I want to talk about is King has access to this running stance that now becomes ridiculous. Oops. Which is the Jaguar sprint. Now he can do this when he's not in heat, as you can see. And it just, I don't know, it just looks so cool. So he can do this when he's not in heat, but the difference is, when he's not in heat, any pokes will basically break him out of it. When he's in heat, however, this now becomes armoured. So if they try to mash buttons, King will just, a bit like when he does this, he just runs through it. And you might think to yourself, alright, that's great, but what can I do with that? Well, my friend, you can do this. Boom. The RKO. I don't know what they've actually called it in the move list, but we're calling it an RKO. So that is basically just you do the Jaguar sprint, which is forward 3+4, or forward cross circle while running, like this. So you press it, zoom, and then while you're running, you press different buttons to get different options. Boom. Now the cool thing about the RKO is if you're not in heat, as you saw then, it's a heat engager. Play it on, please. There we go. So it puts you in heat. If you're already in heat, it actually recharges your heat bar. So watch the bar. See how it goes green? So I get some more heat. So I can just keep doing this all day long. Get up. Do it again. And my heat will never go away. So you might think to yourself, oh yeah, what if they stay on the ground? Stay on the ground. You can do this. That'll hit them on the ground. Fucking heat, please, King. So if they try and stay down, that'll hit them. So what's the other way you can get out of throws, as we discussed? You can duck. So what do we do against people who want to duck? Well, you do this. Notice that is a mid, and it launches. Now you don't get a full combo because you'll notice that they do what we call a tornado flip, which is when they go straight onto their back. So you can't get a full combo out of it, but you can still get some nice little juicy damage. Just do something nice and easy. So what's that? 66 damage. That's pretty reasonable. This is completely safe on block. As I say, if they try and duck, it will hit them. If they stand, the RKO is completely unbreakable. They have to take this like a champ. And just to kind of, add the repertoire, so just to recap, so I appreciate I'm going over this quite quickly, not giving the names. That is in the sprint, and you press square or 1. That gives you that. So you notice when he's not in heat, it doesn't launch. It hits him down. It looks cool. When he's in heat, though, boom, boing. And that's what I mean when we talk about how certain moves in heat become like basically more powerful. So that's that. That's another option you can do if they're ducking. Circle or 4, that's the low. So that's if they're staying on the ground. You can just bully them with that because it will hit them when they're grounded. And if you do that running and then 2, that's a high. So they can duck it, but it gives pretty juicy frames on block. Okay, so we've been going now for about an hour, so I'll probably want to wrap this up pretty quickly. Combos, I have a full combo video, which I'll link to, and I can always put it on the end of this video. But for now, if you want something really, really, really simple, I would suggest something like this. That's pretty simple. If you want something a bit more complicated, I'd do this. And I won't try to show you the big boy version because I'll drop it and we'll be here all day. As I said, I have a combo video. I'll link to it, and I say I may chuck it into the end of this video. It includes all the button notations, so don't panic. I've got your back, guys. Just go and watch that. Yeah. Very, very quickly, discuss things you shouldn't do. Now, also, as I mentioned, there's loads of stuff that I've not talked about, but I wanted to keep this really, really simple for new players. So let me just go through some things really, really quickly you should not do, okay? Do not do this. Don't do that. Now, I know in low ranks that will probably score you quite a few wins because people don't know what to deal with this. But trust me, it's a bad habit to get into because veteran players, or even players who have been playing like a few months in Tekken 7, they know how to deal with that, and it's not as strong as you think it is. Trust me. I won't go into it now, but trust me, doing this may work in low ranks. You take that up to the higher ranks, it's going to get you killed. Just trust me on that one. So those are called alley kicks. Don't do them unless the one time where you're allowed to do an alley kick, where you have my permission, if you know it's going to kill them, so they've only got like a tiny bit of health left, this is a really good way to finish the round. Because look how far the range is. I'm standing all over here, boop, and I can still boop, poke your shin from like, halfway across the stage. And it also high crushes, so it goes under highs. That's the one time you're allowed to use it. You have my permission. Don't use it any other time. Trust me. This is not very good. I know it looks like it is, but you'll just have to trust me on this one. And finally, if I can find it quickly, Okay, so why should you not do this? I'll show you why. I'm going to have King do these two throw options. Watch what happens, okay? See? They both have the same break, which is 2. There's no mix up here. Just mash 2 and I'll escape them. And then when you really clock onto them, you start ducking them. As I was saying, don't do them. It's not a mix-up. You can break every single one. Just hit 2. And all you're going to do is to annoy people. Right, stop it now, King. You're allowed to do those if your name's Chenzo. That's the only person. Okay, so that wraps up the guide. I may or may not put the combo video at the end of this one. If not, the link will be in the description. Let me know if you have any questions. I really hope you enjoy King. I love this character. He's so much fun. He has a lot of personality in this game and I'm really looking forward to taking him further. Okay, thanks for watching. Now, like in Tekken 7, some of King's throws become launchers on certain stages. However, I wanted to keep this first combo video fairly straightforward, ready for day one, but I will make a follow-up to all these special situational combos. And as I mentioned, I will also do a more in-depth guide into the combo system and how to use King in general, so be sure to subscribe to not miss it. Again, if this has helped you, please hit the like button to help the YouTube algorithm push it out to more Tekken 8 players.